And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is another episode. Actually, this is going to be my second episode of a genre I'm calling Stats Are Not for Losers. I'm going to look at several stats and share my thoughts on them. If you're watching live, please feel free to share your thoughts on the predicted 10th by the website FiveThirtyEight. It's a very well-known stats-based website, and they just updated their website for Premier League predictions, and they have Fulham finishing 10th by the end of the season. Do you agree with them? And the bigger question is, and I'll ask this now, and feel free to share your thoughts on this. Would you be disappointed if Fulham finished 10th? I know I wouldn't be, but I'm curious if the Fulham supporters would be disappointed if they finished 10th. So this is predicted by the website FiveThirtyEight. I'm actually going to share on my screen, if you're watching live, their predicted table, I guess you could say. So I'm going to share that now, and we'll go through where they have everyone in the top 10 because I do find it interesting. So I'm going to share that. And here we go. So this is actually updated yesterday. So they have Arsenal winning the league in first, Man City coming in second, Manchester United third, Newcastle fourth. This is an interesting one. They have Brighton in fifth, Tottenham in sixth, Liverpool in seventh, Chelsea in eighth. That is going to hurt. The one that's going to hurt more would be Brentford in ninth, and Fulham in 10th on 53 points. And just want to also mention this. Fulham's best total, as Mike Gregg just tweeted out, I believe the other day, is 54. So they would fall short on Fulham's best total in the Premier League by a point, which is interesting. They're currently on 35, so they're predicting only 18 more points for Fulham. Boy, I hope they're wrong. But I understand why they're going with the total. This is all done. This is all stats based. It's all done by simulation. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I find it interesting that they have Fulham in 10th and actually Brentford in 9th and Chelsea in 8th. That actually does hurt. Okay. So that's where I'm going to start on this. But before I go on any further, please do, as always, subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. But when I saw this updated Premier League prediction table from FiveThirtyEight, I was a little bit disappointed. But it doesn't mean that Fulham are going to finish 10th. It's just stats-wise, this is where they're projecting them to be. And to be honest with you, I'd be fine if they finished 10th. I think that would be an incredibly successful season. But it just shows that stats-wise, this is where FiveThirtyEight has Fulham ending the season. Doesn't mean that they're going to end there. But again, that is their projection. And if Fulham ended 10th, I think that we should all be happy with that. Maybe a little bit disappointed, but we can all dream in Europe. This doesn't stop the dreaming. It just shows stats-wise where they sit. So I just wanted to mention that that's where I'm going to start by talking in this show about stats is the prediction from FiveThirtyEight. But I'm also going to share now some statistics from WhoScored.com because I wanted to go into a little bit deeper because I understand where FiveThirtyEight is coming from. But I wanted to see if other stats back up where FiveThirtyEight have their prediction. So I went to WhoScored.com to see where Fulham were in several categories. And what's interesting about this, it does kind of back up where FiveThirtyEight come with their predictions. So let's start where WhoScored.com has Fulham stats-wise in shots per game and goals. And Fulham are 10th. They're 10th in the league currently. And that basically shows where they are. It also shows that Fulham, I think, have dropped off a little bit in both of these statistics. And I think Mitro might be a factor. Mitro has not been firing lately, so maybe that's why the goals are down a little bit. Shots per game maybe as well. But Fulham are currently 10th, and that kind of is consistent where FiveThirtyEight currently is projecting Fulham to be. So Fulham 10th in shots per game and goals. So that is consistent with 538. And here's another projection again, their player ratings. They do player ratings, and they currently have Fulham 10th. Again, this goes with the prediction from 538. Their player ratings, Fulham in the league, are currently 10th. And that's not bad. That's not bad at all. It just shows, I think, in one way, how far Fulham have come from, say, the predictions at the beginning of the season to now the projections from 538, and also where they sit in several of these categories from WhoScored.com. Player ratings, Fulham are 10th. So this does make sense. Now, here are a couple of other statistics that I think I want to delve a little bit more into. Fulham are currently 13th in possession. And I think there's a reason for that, because Fulham have shown that they are a very good counterattacking team. To be honest with you, when they've had the ball, when they've had more possession, in my opinion, I think that's not, wouldn't say that they've struggled, but that's where some of their growth has not come to where I thought they would be. I thought they would be better when they've had more possession, but 13th kind of shows where they are. They are more of a counterattacking team, and they've been very successful at it. So I'm not against the fact that they are sitting 13th in the league in possession. I think that actually shows some growth. And here's a golden for you if you're watching on YouTube or watching live. I spelled possession wrong. There's a golden for you. But this is not a bad number, in my opinion, for this season. Not a bad number that Fulham sit 13th in possession. Here's another interesting one, and it goes into passing percentage. Now, in years past, Fulham would be first, second, third, especially in the championship in passing percentage. They're 15th. But again, this goes with the fact that Fulham are more of a counterattacking team. So I don't think this is a bad stat from them. I don't think it is at all. It's consistent with the possession numbers. So they're 15th in the league. I don't think this is something that we should be overly concerned about. I just think that it just is consistent with some of the other numbers that I looked at on WhoScored.com, that it just goes with the style of play that Fulham are playing under Marco Silva. I'm sure he wants them to have more possession of the ball, but it's okay the way that they're set up in this 4-2-3-1. They're pressing a great deal. They're getting the ball back, but they are not the ones with the ball the majority of the time. And that goes with the style of play. I think we're going to see these numbers in years to come change. But right now in the Premier League, it's okay to be 15th in passing percentage and 13th in possession. It just shows where they are. Again, you're going up in class, so you're not going to have the ball as much. It's what you do with the possession. I think Fulham have been very effective in the counter. So for me, that shows more in the shots per game and goals, that they're higher up in those numbers, maybe a little bit lower in possession and also in passing percentage. This other stat I think is also very telling. In aerials won, Fulham are 8th. And I think this is huge because it just shows where they are in their growth and how they're getting all these aerials. They're getting all of this play in the box into Mitro in set plays. Very good in aerial play. They are winning a lot of balls in the air. Tim Ream defensively too. Issa Diop has actually, I think, improved in aerials. So Fulham have improved in this category. And I think this is a very positive stat for Fulham, that they currently sit 8th in aerials won. And listen, to be honest with you, I know maybe some supporters are concerned about Mitro. I'm not concerned about him at all. I'm really not concerned about him. Is he a confidence player? Yes. But I think you're going to see the goals start to come. And I think once one comes, I think they're going to come in bushels, to be honest with you. So I'm not really worried about Mitro scoring because, again, the aerial numbers are very good. And I think Mitro has a good amount to do with that. So I'm not worried about this stat. In fact, I'm encouraged by this stat that Fulham are 8th in aerials won. Okay. Well, coming up next to end this quick show, where I'm looking at stats, I'm going to ask the question, would you be disappointed if Fulham finished 10th in the league? Okay, to end the show, I want to talk about this a little bit. And with the projection from 538, Fulham are projected to finish 10th in the league. And if you look at it and you look at all the predictions at the beginning of the season, how many pundits had Fulham finishing in the relegation zone, basically being relegated? How many? There were so many. I never thought that Fulham would be relegated. So this shows the growth of Fulham, the direction that they're going, because I would not be disappointed. I just wanted them to finish 17th or better. I think most supporters would feel that way. Now, here's the thing. Does your feelings about the season change when the results change? Yes. Your expectations do change. It's only human nature. When you are currently sitting 7th and this website is projecting 10th, I can see why some would be disappointed. But if you look at it, if you really judge Fulham's growth, I would be very happy with 10th. I would be extremely happy with 10th. I'd be a little bit disappointed that we didn't get Europe, but I think that's only natural. That's looking at it from both ways. Looking at it from a pure fan with an opportunity to go to Europe. We're sitting 7th. Of course, I want them to be in Europe. But if I'm looking at it realistically and all the stats show that 10th would be realistic, that's fine. In fact, Mike Rigg, if you go on Mike Rigg's Twitter account, he'll show you how difficult it would be for Fulham to end 6th. It really would be difficult. They would have to start beating some of the big boys. They would really have to start doing that. And I'm not saying that they can't. I'm trying to look at this in a statistical manner. And that's why I think finishing 10th, if you're asking me, is fine. It would be fine. It really would be. It would be an incredibly successful season, something to build on. The only thing I want to say in regards to finishing 10th is that I think if they finished a little bit higher, it would help them in the recruitment over the summer, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking on building from this season and getting better players in. Because one great thing here is that our Fulham punching above their weight? Potentially. But I think with this coach and coaching staff, Fulham can get what you would call average to good players and elevate them. What if they get really good players like Pauline? What if they consistently get better players in? I think Marco Silva would make a better player an excellent player. So my hope is that this projection is wrong and they end up better than 10th, because I think it will help them get better players this summer, because I think that's what it's about. It's about building on what they're doing right now, because I think 10th would be an accomplishment, but I think all Fulham supporters want them to be the platform to go to do bigger and better things. That's what I'm looking at. When I was on this podcast and talked to a Wolves supporter, and we're kind of doing what they did, right? We're doing what they did. And then they got most of their best players picked off. And that's what ends up happening when you start winning. That's going to be the trick with Fulham. That's why Marco and his coaching staff are so valuable. They really are. And also the players themselves. If you watch the Sasa Lukic interview, who do you think was instrumental in Lukic coming to Fulham? It's Mitro. It's Mitro. Of course it's Mitro. So the players are selling Fulham to potential players, which is great. But I think getting as high up the league as possible could only help Fulham. I would not be disappointed with 10th. Absolutely would not be. But I'm not going to lie to you. I want better. But I'd be fine with 10th. Let's see. I got some comments from the Fulham supporters. Let's see what my friend Steve Reynolds says. If we settle for 10th, then let's go full on for the cup and a European place. Steve, I agree with you. I think we should go on a cup run. I think we should go full force, put out Fulham's best side against Leeds United. I'm there with you. I'm totally there with you. My friend Combs says, no, if we were offered 10th at the beginning of the season, I'm sure every supporter would have taken that. I agree with you, Combs. Totally agree with you. This is from my friend Kamal. He's got a lot of comments, so I'll try to share some. This has been a discussion between me and my friends. I've always believed we can finish in Europe and been laughed at. But if we can turn the corner earlier than expected, the buys have been a marvel this season. He continues, Fulham's team is so much sharper than last season, almost completely reinvigorated with a Premier League experienced team. We can do this. Kamal also shares, incidentally, great frequency of shows, Russ. Love your analysis, and I hope you're well. Lucas's 2 minutes were amazing last week, and Solomon was wonderful. Looking for ways in immediately. Okay, thank you very much for all that, Kamal. And finally, from my friend Combe, Ream, Robinson, Cabano, and Decadova-Reed would have been kicked to the side under another manager. It just shows how good Silva's coaching is. Totally agree, Combe. That's why I wanted to talk about how he's elevated all of these players. But what happens when he gets in even better players? I think he takes them to the next level as well. So we're lucky to have Marco Silva, but I think this is just a platform to build on. Well, listen, I'm going to wrap up this show, and I want to thank everyone for commenting and joining me at the last minute. I decided to do this podcast at the last minute. And just thank you, everyone that watches and listens to every episode of Cottage Talk. I really appreciate it. I'm going to continue to bring you more and more shows because you keep watching and listening. It just makes me feel so good inside. So thank you. Subscribe, as always, on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I would love that. Please leave a review. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. My name's Russ Goldman. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, now part of the TalkSport Fan Network.